call will be recorded and may be monitored. An incarcerated individual at Naval Bassett Correctional Center. This call is not private.
I am only one of countless abuse survivors in prison, especially in Oklahoma.
This is a collect call from
Ashley. It's so hard to talk about the abuse that we've gone through, and people, they tell you, well, you should have left, or you should have done this, and there's just so many shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Out of sight and out of mind, but no longer staying silent.
This call will cost 14 cents per minute,
plus any applicable federal, state, and local taxes.
I feel like you are one of so many in Oklahoma.
Thank you. It was hard to do, but I finally have come to the realization that if I stay quiet, like so many have, nothing's going to change.
Ashley Garrison is one of many domestic violence survivors behind bars in Oklahoma, now with new hope of freedom.
I guess I'm doing this for women who are in prison, who did what they had to do to fight for their family.
Representative Tony Hassenbach is bringing forward a bill this legislative session that, if passed, could allow the court to factor in if domestic abuse was a direct result of or a significant contributing factor in the crime when sentencing.
We needed to do some more for women that find themselves in a dangerous situation that they have to solve themselves in their own home.
Situation statistics show that happen frequently in Oklahoma. The state has the second highest rates in the nation of both domestic violence and of men who kill women.
I just feel like if you've been put in the emergency room 14 times by someone who lives in your home and by all practical accounts claims to love you, and you've filed protective order after protective order and protective order, and then you finally feel like you have to defend yourself ultimately with a weapon, I feel like that we should look at that a little differently.
The bill is aimed at offering sentencing relief to victims of abuse who fight back against their abuser or who are coerced by them into committing a crime. But it also covers failure to protect or child neglect cases where abuse was a factor.
Have you seen any pushback? Oklahoma is a state where we're both very hard on crime. We believe in a punitive system. A lot of us do. Nobody wants their mother or their sister or their daughter to be in an abusive relationship, let alone be stuck, let alone find themselves caught in the criminal justice system as a result of that abuse.
And that's where some would argue is where Ashley Garrison has been for the last 12 years.
He took an X-Acto knife to my back and he cut me 5 different times across my back. And he made me just sit there and take it.
That was Ashley back in 2019. We're showing you this video because we wanted you to be able to not only hear, but see her.
I went through all of it alone because he didn't care.
Despite repeated attempts to interview Ashley again in person at the Oklahoma Women's Prison where she's serving her time, it appears the Department of Corrections no longer allows in-person interviews. Instead, we are relegated to writing her a letter or calling, which we did.
This call is not private. This call will be recorded and may be monitored.
Another friend of mine has 4 life sentences and no one died. I have no understanding. It's just...
The call got disconnected. Interview over.
About 15 minutes into the call, as we were discussing not being allowed into Naval Bassett Correctional Center to conduct that in-person interview, the line suddenly went dead.
Okay, and we're back.
Does that happen a lot?
Sometimes it does, yeah. But that was weird because it said that you hung up. And I had a feeling that didn't happen, but that's okay.
Yeah, I definitely did not hang up, but we have 2 cameras that were shooting my phone. Definitely did not hang up. It's curious that we were talking about us coming into prison when that happened.
Yeah, that was interesting.
2 times disconnected.
Ashley's story starts in Enid, where at 22 she found herself with nowhere to live.
I went online and I found a man that was willing to take me and my kids in, but there's still that part of me of, I could have done a little bit more. I should have found some other place to go instead of putting my children in that home, because my kids deserved better than that.
According to court documents, Ashley endured a year of brutal physical and mental abuse at the hands of her then husband, including, she says, following the birth of their daughter.
She was early. She was 2 months early. So we had to stay at the hospital because they had to keep her in an incubator. And the day she was born, he raped me in the hospital shower.
61 days later, the unthinkable.
He says he had accidentally rolled over on her, and so she passed away and she quit breathing. And I just remember him telling me that she's not breathing, and he just tosses her little body at me.
Court documents show her husband told her he put the baby under his leg to sleep, but the medical examiner's office wasn't able to determine the exact cause of death.
I just remember going into this room by myself and holding her and telling her how much I loved her and how beautiful she was and how sorry I am that I failed.
Her then husband, who was in bed with the baby, received a 10-year sentence, half of what Ashley did, and has been out for years.
I had asked why. Why was it different? And the DA said he takes into account job history, education, and prior convictions. I've had a job since I was 16, college, education, never been in prison, jail. He didn't have a high school diploma. He didn't have a job, and he had just been to county jail a few months before for petty larceny of Walmart.
The apparent double standard in sentencing, Representative Hassenbeck says in this case, is far from isolated, with women often paying a higher price.
For whatever reason, women have this problem in the court system where they end up with larger prison sentences than typically the men who were producing the acts to lead to the final act.
One of the potential reasons for the disparity in sentencing could be because there are no sentencing limits on failure to protect or child neglect cases. Sentences can range anywhere from probation to life. A 2019 bill that would have imposed a sentencing limit and allow women to use domestic violence as a defense in those cases failed. At the time, the DOC telling NewsChannel 8 it wanted to see a 5-year sentencing limit on child neglect cases.
So one thing from our conversation that struck me, you said that we need to make a change here in Oklahoma. I'm wondering why now?
I think it just depends on the people that are in this building and the issues that they think are important based on what their constituents tell them. Sometimes we have to make cases for our bills. And, that's going to be me talking to every single member of the House and saying, here's why this is important, here's why this is important to me, here's why this is important to you and the people in your district.
As for Ashley, she has at least 5 more years before she's eligible for parole.
Everybody deserves a second chance.
A chance that's laying in the hands of Oklahoma lawmakers.
This call is not private.
It will be recorded and may be monitored.